Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. And today's video, which you saw the title already, is it's not special to not like something. And this wasn't what today's video was supposed to be. In fact, today's video was supposed to be a different video about how we keep up with all the board games and tips and tricks around that. It's already filmed, it's already loaded, it's all prepped to go up, timestamp, thumbnail, all those things. And then Rodney Smith from Watch It Played posted a little Rodney rant on Twitter, a 2-minute long video, as a response to someone else about the context of being negative. And in that video he said, it's not special to not like something. And that's such a good title for a conversation. I love that quote. I want to get it printed on a t-shirt, on a mug. It's 100% true. And the reason it's today's video is because I, slight troll that I am, find it particularly amusing to post a video with that subject line and have it show up in Rodney's feed somewhere, and he's like, what's going on? This was just yesterday. Why is Alex posting a full video about this already? I like the timeliness of it. So hi, Rodney. Thanks for tuning in. But effectively, the context of the conversation, the situation at hand, and I don't know the exact situation at hand, but somebody posted something along the lines of, when somebody is excited about something, when someone likes something, when someone is into something, that's not the time and place to say how you didn't like it. It's not the time and place to insert your negative opinion into a situation. And I don't know about you, but I've seen this before on social media, specifically social media. In person it happens as well, although not as bad for a variety of reasons. First of all, the context to the way we communicate to others, the context to the way our communications are, I guess, absorbed by the people who know us, and just the general frequency of it. But social media tends to make these things the worst. But the idea that someone shares a photo of their Kallax. They share a photo of their Kallax cubbies. Here's my shelfie. Enjoy. I love it. And then you get 3 comments from somebody. Why you have that game? Or you have all the Catans and you don't have any of this, this, and this. You'll see those negative comments that they add no value to the world. They add no value to the conversation. It's not special to not like something. The person who breaks out their game, as Rodney says in his video, the person who breaks out their game, they have it all set up. They've just watched their played video. They understand how to dive into it. And they ask, hey, any tips? And someone's like, yeah, I got a tip. Get a different game instead. It's not special to not like something. The person who tells you about the deal they just got on Amazon, a lightning deal, whatever it is, and game X, Y, and Z is $12 instead. And it's amazing, they just bought it, they're excited for it to come. And someone else says, I wouldn't even buy that game if it was $6 if you paid me to buy it. It's really genuinely not special to not like something. We see this a lot. The idea that people sometimes feel that their negative opinion is the thing that is worth adding to a conversation when it so clearly is not the time and place. And there is a time and place to be negative. That is absolutely true. Just a lot of the time that people choose to be negative, myself included, I'm not immune to this, that time and place often isn't the right time and place for negativity. Because negativity should always be about the value you're adding to the world. There is value to being negative. There is a value to being able to add a negative opinion, a counterpoint, some sort of aspect of that's not good, don't do this, that isn't the right way to do that. Negativity should be a good thing. But it has to add value. It can't simply be present. And there's different kinds of people that choose to show up on social media. There's different kinds of people that choose to show up and be negative. There's the unique guy. The guy who's like, oh, Avatar wasn't a good movie. I didn't like Avatar at all. Or Avengers, please. Avengers, why does anyone like Avengers movies? They are not good. There's no quality. They're terrible. The writing's horrific. They're all exactly the same. It's the person who thinks that they're a special magical snowflake, that they are not victim to the mass market of the world that chooses to like a certain thing, but they are special. They're different. It's not special to not like something. That is such a key quote. It's such an amazingly insightful sentence into this concept. You're genuinely not special for not liking something. And if you didn't like Avatar, that's fine. And if you don't like Marvel, that's fine. But the time and place for that opinion is not when someone else is talking about what they do like. If you want to have an insightful discussions to all the flaws in the Marvel movies, the ways they don't work, I will talk to you from today until tomorrow about how I don't like any of the first 6 Star Wars movies. In fact, I like 7, 8, and 9 more than the first 6. That's going to end up generating more conversation this entire video, unfortunately, but it's too late now, it's been said. But I'll have that conversation with you. And keep in mind, it also ends with me liking 7 and 8. 9 is actually horrific. Forget 9. 7 and 8 I like. But I'll have that conversation. And first of all, it will not be in response to you talking about how much you like the Star Wars universe. And if anything, I appreciate the conversation around why I don't like certain things and why you might. I want to talk to you about it. I don't care about the fact that my opinion is simply there to counter your own, to be special. So that's the first kind of person. The I'm unique. I'm different than everyone else. There's the I'm witty guy. The person who thinks they're funny. And this is the area that I probably struggle with the most. This is the line that I most frequently cross in this type of conversation, where I need to fine-tune where I go. The I'm witty guy isn't there to say, when you set up your game and you post a picture to social media, you're like, look, I'm all ready to go, and the person says, I've got a tip for you. Get this game instead. There's a person who doesn't like Gloomhaven, let's say, and I'm special because I don't like Gloomhaven. And then there's the person who thinks that it's funny. They think that it's witty, it's amusing, it was a clever comment to a picture. And that's the area I'm most going to be victim to, like I just said. Because I do like that jab, the reposting back and forth, the articulation of different verbal attacks on each other in the spirit of good fun. And I certainly crossed the line where I shouldn't. But you have to ask yourself, when you're attempting to be witty, what value are you adding to the world? So first of all, as a starting baseline, if you make someone else feel worse about any aspect of their life because it makes you feel better because you feel funny, that's just not ideal. It's straight up not ideal. It's a prioritization. It's a selfishness of your wittiness at their expense. That's not the way a joke should ever be made. That classic idea of a banana peel on the floor, someone going flying, everyone else laughing. You should never laugh at people. You should only ever laugh with them. And so you have to ask yourself whether you're adding value to the world in your witty comment or not. Now, so I won't do that to random people on the internet, or at least I try not to. Again, I'm certainly not perfect to anything I'm saying here. It's a goal and ambition that I strive for, but one that I'm sure that I have failed at the same time. But in conversations with my friends, in the podcast, when I'm talking with Quacklope and we're having our back and forth in our podcast, and we constantly are attacking each other in that podcast with witty remarks back and forth, or what we perceive as witty, that's there because it's part of the banter. It's meant to add value to the conversation. It's meant to make the back and forth amusing. And sometimes the line will be crossed because what we think is amusing might actually make someone else feel in any way less than. And so that's a line. In comedy in general, this is going to be a constant conversation. Where is the line that you cross when you end up insulting or hurting someone else in the pursuit of comedy? And it's never okay to do so, don't get me wrong. There's never a leeway towards making someone else feel worse about themselves. The question is, are you able to achieve that? Are you able to be funny in a way that doesn't take away from someone else? So again, the I'm witty person, be very careful with it. Be very careful when you choose to exercise that funny remark that comes at the expense of someone else. Ideally do it with people you know. Ideally do it in a live situation in which there's the most context added, in which your comment is not perceived to be an insult against the game you just bought and set up, but rather is literally just meant to be a cute little wisecrack or whatever it is. So the I'm witty person is another category of people who think it's okay to be negative. And again, I definitely do that when I should not. And the third category, or at least the third category from the three I have, I'm sure there's more, is going to be the I know more than you guy. This person doesn't feel they're special because, everyone else likes Gloomhaven and they don't. They're not trying to be funny. They just think you're not there yet. You have Catan. Catan is great, Catan's a great game, for people who are new to the hobby. Let me know when you're ready to talk about better games, and I'm happy to help out. That person might even be well-meaning. They might even have the best of intentions. Catan's great for you. Forget Catan. Go back a step. Monopoly's great for you. But Monopoly's just not a very good game, is it? And again, I'm going to be a little victim to this as well, because, to be clear, I think anyone who enjoys Monopoly should enjoy Monopoly. 100%. If you enjoy something, who am I to take that away from you? I don't care at all. Monopoly is fun for you? Play it, by all means. I like Game X, you like Game Y. That's true whether it's Monopoly versus Gloomhaven, and it's true whether it's Wingspan versus Everdell. Enjoy yourself. Have fun with what you like. The area where I think, guilty of this here is sometimes that level of context is not always present. I've certainly made comments against Monopoly, and it's a longer conversation, but I do have problems with Monopoly in the hobby, or more specifically, the aspect that it is the face of the hobby. And yet, I would argue for most people who play it, it is not a game that will give you a lasting impression. pick a mediocre movie and imagine that was the movie everyone thought of when people said, oh, I watch movies. That's my problem with Monopoly. It's not my problem with an individual's enjoyment of it. And so sometimes I'm guilty of making an occasional comment without the full context behind it, and then I might come across as the I know more than you guy, and I might be taking away from your fun in the process. Again, there's all these different ways and approaches people have, reasons they choose to be negative, whether social media, whether in person, reasons they choose to do that. Now again, I'm not arguing that there isn't a time and place to be negative. In fact, I'd argue it's essential. If you force people to be positive or say nothing at all, then you are effectively forcing everyone to search for negativity in the assumptions of the absence of your opinions. Once again, if you force people to never be negative, then you force others to search for negativity in the assumptions about the absence of your opinions. So what do I mean by that? I mean, take someone like Rado, who's said this in general. Rado often gets criticized for his videos aren't negative. That means he's just spouting positive stuff and this, that, and the other. And he has said this in the past. He doesn't really do negative reviews because if he doesn't like a game, he stops spending time with the game. He's not interested in spending time, energy, putting out a video about something that he didn't enjoy. And so his reviews, almost by definition, are positive. I don't know if I've ever seen a negative review from Rado. That's an approach he has chosen to take with his channel. And to that end, if all channels were like that, if every single channel in the space were like that, then the closest thing you could do to finding out if Rado didn't like something is look at the games he hasn't covered and then try to start making assumptions about the absence of an opinion. Well, Rado didn't cover this game, so inherently it means he didn't like it. Or it means no one reached out to him. Or it means he was busy. Or it means any number of things. You have to have negativity in any space, or else you force people to search for that meaning in the absence of an opinion. But again, I guess this goes back to the initial premise, the initial discussion of negativity has to be there when it adds value. And Rodney touched upon this in his video. If someone asks for advice, if someone says, should I purchase game X or Y, by all means be negative. Be fairly negative, for sure. If it's a negative in review, negative reviews are going to be a constant conversation. I put out reviews, most of them are positive, some of them are negative for the same reason, by the way, because most of the time I don't want to play a game multiple times if I didn't like it. So usually it's kind of like a medium. Like, if I was medium about a game, I'll put out a review on it because I played it multiple times. Versus if I straight up didn't like a game, I often don't go back to it. But if you're going to put out a negative review, add value to the conversation. Be fairly negative, not clickbait, trashy negative, because there are people who search for clickbait, trashy negative. There are people who love to see horrific things done to games. There are people who love to see whatever, like throw that game in the garbage, trash it, say, I don't know who designed this game, I don't know what they were smoking, I don't know what they were on, I don't know what they were thinking, but they should never design a game again, it is that bad. That gets views. It does. But it's also almost always not true. It's almost always a more dramatized version of negativity that sells. It has people interested. It has people paying attention. Look how bad that game is. But you did so at the cost of someone else on the other end who designed a game that was good, but not good enough for whatever standard you set, and you chose to take this moment in time to talk about how horrifically bad it is. This is why some of my arguably more negative reviews, Pipeline, which went up, Cusco, which will be going up shortly, They're games that I didn't enjoy, but I still see why it's a good game for people, and I try to focus on that at the same time. Most games, especially games that are rated well, clearly aren't deserving of being thrown out, discarded like nothing, and trashing the people, the company, whoever it is behind them. Add value to the world. And that value should never, ever, ever be purely a binary discussion of, well, I added value to myself. I got more notoriety because I was funny. I was clickbaity and trashy. I did something that in some way helped myself. If you hurt someone else to help yourself, that's just not adding value to the world. But again, be negative in reviews, by all means. Point out the things you didn't like. Rodney himself, he did a video recently, the closest thing, he doesn't really do reviews, watch it played, but he did a video of a board game table at one point. Whereas basically he has a board game table, they released a new version, they sent it to him to cover it, and he did cover it. And he provided positive and negative critiques. These are the pluses of this new line of the table. These are the negatives. You know, it's a little bit too noisy in this sense. Some aspects, you have to manage this. He talked about what he liked and didn't like. And he was incredibly well-mannered, well-reasoned, polite, not over the top, not dramatic for the sake of being dramatic. It was measured. Every word, every decision, both positive and negative, was measured in the feedback he gave, and that is how you add value to the world. You want to inform the consumer. You want to help them make a decision that will, well, help them. But you want it to be accurate, not dramatic. When you tell someone how bad a game and how horrific it is and how you should never play it, you're not actually helping them. Because almost certainly what you're saying is simply not true. It is dramatized for the sake of the dramatic. So be negative in reviews, if you do it well. Be negative when advice is asked for, when someone wants your opinion on something. And there might be a little bit more room for dramatics there. A little bit more room, not a lot. But if someone says, hey Alex, how did you really feel with that? Do you want to play that game again? I'll be like, no, honestly, I really would rather not play that game again. I really didn't enjoy it. But also, at the same time, here are the reasons you might. Be negative in advice whenever that advice is asked for. Do not be negative in advice when someone posts a picture of the game they just set up and you decide to jump in with your opinion about how horrific it is and how they should go play something else because it's bad enough they wasted their time and energy setting it up. They should not waste their time and energy playing the game either. There's a level of just over-the-topness that is just not there. As a general rule of thumb, and I've said this a few times, I'll say it again, you just have to think for yourself before you choose to be negative. Think for yourself, what is the good that you are adding to the world through the sake of your negativity? And what is the harm that you are adding to the world for the sake of your negativity? And ask yourself if there's a way to improve that balance. And when you find that perfect balance, and you're willing to justify that in a conversation, how this was the perfect way to be negative, this was the perfect way to do as little harm as possible, both to the people who made the game, who are behind the game, both to the people who have bought the game, who already own it, but also to the people involved who may otherwise buy the game in the future. Find that line and justify that line as long as you are not the recipient of said benefit of being negative. And that's where you want to add negativity to the world. Or, that's not true. That's where you want to add positivity to the world through the method of being negative about something, through the method of being critical about something. At the end of the day, this is basically a long version of saying, you're not special for not liking something. Or, more specifically the way Rodney put it, it's not special. It's not special to not like something. You're not special for not liking something. It's a little bit more targeted, it's a little bit more aggressive. And Rodney, as usual, is less aggressive. He went on the it. It is not special to not like something. It just means you didn't like something. It doesn't mean you're better for it. It doesn't mean you're funnier for it. It doesn't mean you're unique or different or in any way smarter for it. You just didn't like something. And for everything else that you don't like, if that's not true, for everything else you do like, for everything else you like in your collection, whether it's board games, whether it's books, whether it's anything at all that you might own or like or enjoy, there's someone else who doesn't like that also. And factor that into your conversation. And that's basically it. That's my video for today. Rodney ended off his video with a little, that's been our Rodney rant for the day, which I think I echo everyone's sentiments when I say I would love to see a more regular Rodney rant, because a rant from anyone else, I'd question whether it's too negative and not adding value to the world. But I believe a rant from Rodney would be entertaining, amusing, and generally beneficial and not so damaging. And that's it. That's today's last minute all of a sudden video. I hope you enjoyed. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. That like and dislike button are both down below. Choose and choose wisely. And until next time, have a good one. The dislike button also helps the channel, just so you know. It doesn't really matter. YouTube just likes engagement, so it's really okay to dislike it. It still helps me. I think there is an argument to be made that when you hit dislike on enough of my videos, then YouTube will deprioritize showing you my videos. But as a general idea of adding value to myself and the channel, dislike and like both work in that sense. You know, YouTube likes controversy. That's the downside of, well, all of this. In fact, something I need to focus on and think through more is I do put out the occasional video that is negative in nature, of, you know, top 10 worst games in my collection and whatnot. And usually I'm still well-mannered, well-reasoned, and not over the top about them, but it's still a reasonable question to ask. Is it adding value or not? I have to think about it. I'm not immune to it. Have a good one.